Climbing down from the attic proved to be more difficult than climbing in. As I lowered myself down out of the opening, I lost my grip and landed hard on my right shoulder. A piece of glass from the broken mirror had embedded itself into my shoulder. The pain sent a jolt down my spine. As I was about to get up, a voice called from behind me. "Full of grace, aren't we?" It was a man, and the voice was soft but venomous. I quickly stumbled to my feet, turning around to face the room. Sitting on the edge of the bed was a man wearing a dark mahogany suit. He had slick black hair that was combed back. He wore a mask on his face that depicted that of a cartoonish devil. It had swirling black mustache, a wide grinning mouth, and painted yellow eyes. A pair of black horns grew from the top of the mask. The man was reclining back on his elbows on the mattress, and his head tilted curiously at me. "Come now, it's time we had a little chat, He gestured to his left, and I followed his hand to see a large black leather chair I had never seen before. I slowly walked to it, cradling my bleeding shoulder in my left hand. It was time for step 2, the devil's talk. I lowered myself into the chair. The man stood up and meandered over to the closet. He reached down and plucked a shard of glass from the ground. He inspected it for a second before dropping it and turning to face me. Those yellow eyes stared unblinkingly at me for a moment. The man's hands behind his back. "You know why I'm here, correct?" He cooed, his voice like sugar and vinegar all at once. I nodded, trying to relax my body, but unable to keep it from tensing. The man went and sat back down on the bed, and he leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He clasped his hands together and rested his 2 index fingers against his plastic mouth in thought. "You're much scrawnier than I expected. Have you not been eating?" He crossed his arms and legs, tilting his head at me curiously. I shook my head and my voice dead in my throat. "Well, you're not much of a talker, are you?" He chuckled. And I winced at the sound of his snapping fingers, and a silver tray appeared in the air between us. Resting on it were the 8 keys I had collected. "You've been through so much pain, so much fear, so much death, and not to mention the self-mutilation." He seemed to inspect every key, and I had flashbacks of the past 8 steps I had survived. "You're a determined one, I'll give you that. And by God, you're the luckiest bastard I've ever seen." He laughed and picked up the silver tray, the silver 3 key. I thought you had it there at the end. I never expected you to just smash the mirror against her face. Bravo, bravo. He placed the key back down and applauded slowly. "So then, there's really only one thing left I need." With a wave of his hand, the tray disappeared, and he stood. I tried to stifle myself, trembling, and he slowly approached me. His hands were behind his back, and he took soft, slow steps towards me. I could feel the heat radiating off of him as he got closer. He tried to blink the sweat from my eye, and he leaned down, slowly, until his masked face was a few inches from mine. I stared into those piss-yellow eyes and resisted the urge to vomit. "Why should I let you in?" He said this slowly, and I could feel myself drowning in those eyes. "What makes you different from all the rest? How do I know you will follow through with what needs to be done?" He slowly circled me, and I bit my tongue as his hands rested on my shoulders. They were boiling hot, and I could smell my flesh sizzling under his touch. "Because she needs to come back," I said through gritted teeth, the pain overwhelming. "But why her? There are plenty of others who want their loved ones back," he said, his fingers digging into my flesh as I was boiled alive. "Because..." My mind swam with a million thoughts, and suddenly I felt heat rising from inside my chest. "Because he took her too soon. I said, and later I realized I had screamed this. Who took her? The man said, his fingers plunged deep into my shoulders. The heat I felt now was no longer from him. It was from a deep, dark anger that had been boiling in my soul, slowly ever since she had died. God! I screamed and slammed my fists on the chair's armrests. With that, the pain in my shoulders was gone, and the man once again was sitting on the bed facing me. That's what I wanted to see. The true darkness that was eating away at your soul. Mad at God, are we? He reached into his suit jacket and pulled out a finely stretched handkerchief. He offered it to me, and I took it slowly. I wiped the sweat off my brow and could feel the heat coming from my cheeks. I handed him back the handkerchief, and he stowed it away in his suit. Joined the club. He stood and went to the bedroom window, peering out into the night-covered neighborhood. You know what step 1 requires you to do, don't you? Do you have what it takes to get it done? He cocked his head at me, and I swallowed any bit of fear I had left. I'll do it for her. The smile on the mask seemed to grow, and the man turned to fully face me. Do we have a deal then? He bent at the waist and held out his hand. Centered in the palm was a shining golden key. It was cleanly polished, and I could see the words, Step 2, complete, etched into it. I looked back up at those empty yellow eyes and placed my hand in his. His fingers tightened around mine, and I could feel his nails tearing into my skin. He moved closer to me so that his face was almost touching mine. Go make me proud, he said, and slowly reached up to his face. He peeled back the mask, and I was now staring into the man's real eyes. I could see where time began and time would end, the death of the world and all the people in it. Waves upon waves of emotions flooded me, and I was falling into the deepest pits of hell. I could see the eternal pit that awaited me at the end of life's road, and all of suffering in store for me. I could feel anger, sadness, pain, dread, guilt, all those damning emotions that would haunt me forever. Then he was gone, and I sat alone in my bedroom. The golden key was in the palm of my hand, and when I pulled it back, I winced in pain as my skin came with it. It had been seared to my flesh, leaving a mark to remind me of the deal I had made. It was now or never. Step 1 was step 1. Then I would have her back. Finally, I'll see her again.